You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Hey entrepreneurs, it's your Podcast Mogul Phil Better here. I am excited for this episode as I know you are. Before we jump into this episode, I'm going to ask you if you are also a podcaster and you're looking to grow your podcast or monetize your podcast, make sure you stay till the end of the episode. I have a special deal for you, or a special offer, if you will. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's jump into the episode.
Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better. And today I'm excited. We have another high-performing coach who helps ambitious professionals hit massive goals, consistency without sacrificing their health and happiness. They have over 10 years of experience blending concepts from neuroscience, psychology, and mindset training in his signature program, the Overdrive Academy. Wait.
I updated the name a little bit. The Activator Academy now. I know it. One from one to the other. Jumped around a bit.
No worries. So yes, that lovely voice you are hearing is Andrew O'Malley, the creator of Andrew O'Malley Coaching and Elite Activator Academy. Andrew, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Phil. Super excited to talk to you and share some stuff for your audience.
So you have 10 years of experience in coaching and mindset, all the fun stuff that makes people tick. But what got you into being a coach? What was the spark?
Yeah, it was really kind of a natural progression. So I knew from a young age that I really wanted to help people. And at the time, logically, I thought, okay, I'll be a doctor. I'll be a medical practitioner. I'll help people with their illnesses, with whatever's going on. But it wasn't really the playing field for me. I didn't want to be cooped up in a hospital my whole life. And it wasn't quite the lifestyle I was looking for. So I pivoted. I studied neuroscience, psychology, all the sort of things that makes the brain tick and that gets to that kind of core reason of why we do what we do or why we don't do what we do. So at the same time, I realized the internet's in somewhat of a gold rush right now. There's so much opportunity being created with social media, with artificial intelligence, with all these new technologies coming out. So I wanted to be a part of that, but I needed to figure out, how do I merge helping people and changing people's lives with being an online entrepreneur? So coaching was really that bridge between the two, and it allowed me to create that future where I could help people, but where I could have the life and the company and the business on my own terms.
Okay. What was your when you were first starting out, how was it finding the clients to work with? And I'm obviously, I guess the clients you started with to where you are today, they're vastly different in their needs. How did you decide on who you wanted to help?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it has changed a lot since I first began. I kind of went in a couple loops. Really what I did and what I kind of recommend, when people ask me where to start, is taking a look at your own story and your own struggles. Productivity was something and is something I'm interested in and passionate in. But really where I put my first step forward was working with people in the LGBTQ plus community, because that resonated with my story and in kind of growing up myself in a very small town and not really knowing my own identity for how I wanted to show up in the world. So one of the earlier versions of my coaching program was focused around that, with helping people work with their identity, their self-love, and really how they show up for themselves and in their work. And then that kind of, I reiterated and gradually grew and developed to where I am now. So yeah, I always try to start with, what have I overcome? What are some of the parts of my story, my journey that can help other people? And what are people looking for? What do they really need?
I like that. When you were developing the Elite Activator Academy, what was the process like? Did you already have the framework that you wanted, or was it like you were building this from scratch?
I did actually have some of the framework from the previous version, because it's interesting. The deeper you get into coaching, the more you realize there's commonalities, no matter what the core issue you're working with, whether it's identity, whether it's performance, whether it's burnout, whether it's public speaking. A lot of the times there's these core emotional factors and these mindset roadblocks that people are struggling with. So when I made the transition into the Elite Activator Academy and working with overcoming burnout and performance and that stuff, I had a lot of the groundwork done already in terms of, working full in overcoming things like the emotional side of burnout and imposter syndrome and those sorts of concepts.
What is the common theme, if you can, when you're dealing with someone, or you're not dealing with that, poor use of words, but when you're helping someone through their burnout, because it's different for everyone, but like you said, when you're coaching, there's similarities. What are some of the similarities that you see in some of your clientele that you help?
That's a good question. Obviously, it depends on the person and the story they're kind of telling themselves. But one of the things I really notice is just that lack of clarity, whether it's they don't know where they want to go, they don't know what they actually are capable of doing within their current situation, or maybe they just don't have clarity on, maybe they have something they want to do and they don't have clarity in the steps it takes to get there, or how they can kind of build the courage and the resilience to actually go after what they really want to be doing.
I like that. And I want to know, when you're doing your work and your coaching, do you see a specific demographic? Are you seeing Gen Alpha, if you will, versus boomers and that, or are you seeing people more along the same line as your age?
It ranges. They tend to be probably about early 20s to mid 30s, I'd say, is the people who resonate the most with me right now. Of course, there is a bit of fluctuation, but part of that is I feel like the stories I'm sharing or the kind of things that are resonating the most with people, a lot of the times they end up being kind of in the similar age bracket as my.
Now, let's say we have someone who's listening. They know they're coming up to burnout, or they're just dealing with the burnout. What kind of tip or maybe advice you would have for them so that they could start recovering from it, or realize that they're in a burnout? Either way, but one of those two would be a great tip.
Yeah, that's a great way to frame it too, right? Because a lot of the times what I see is people who, they might already be burnt out and they come on a boot camp or watch one of my videos, and they think, oh, I'm getting to that point, but they don't realize, I'm already in that kind of state of burnout. So, there's a lot of steps I walk my students through in terms of listening to their body, their emotion, their current situation. But step one, I would say, take stock of how you feel, take stock of what's going on. But I would also say that there's probably something deeper going on, right? The burnout's never just the burnout, right? It's not just that you need to have, an extra night's sleep. It's not that you're just tired today. Burnout is the chronic exhaustion, and that chronic exhaustion doesn't get there unless there's a reason that we're not really addressing, right? We haven't really hit the nail on the head yet of what's really going on below the surface. Though, if you're listening, if you feel like maybe I have burnout, maybe, I've been working really hard, not getting anywhere, I feel stuck, start to peel back the layers and start to think of, what could be some of the core reasons of where I'm at right now. Is it because I'm doing certain things that are leading to the burnout? Is it because I'm not doing the certain things, or that I feel stuck? A lot of the times, it's not just something that you could have a 1 week vacation and just you're suddenly cured of burnout. There's always that deeper reason of what's going on, whether we can see it easily or not.
Do you feel that the more you're doing your job and sharing your content, you're losing out, quote unquote, on potential clients in the future, or do you feel that you're going to be evolving into another realm, another type of helping people in their career?
How so? In terms of so you burn out to a different niche, or
maybe a different niche, since you're obviously your goal is to help people recover from burnout and be preventative of burnout, right? Like that's what we want in our society. And with you giving away the tips and tricks through podcasts, through YouTube, through your articles and all that, do you find, or do you feel that there could be a possibility that that's going to end up destroying your niche because you're providing all this free value for people to avoid burnout?
Honestly, I wish that was the case. And I talk about this on my boot camp, actually, right? I could look up burnout and I could get, if you go into Google, you type in burnout recovery, I'm going to get literally millions of results. I could look up how to relax. Again, I'm going to get millions of results. If all it took to overcome burnout was knowledge, literally 0 people would be burnt out, because all it would take is to go onto YouTube, watch a 5-minute video, and boom, I'm healed, I'm cured, no more burnout. There's no amount of content that I could put out, that everyone could put out, that is just going to blanket solve the entire problem. And the numbers of burnout are rising, not decreasing, which is ironic again, since information is so widely accessible. I think over 60% of people right now are dissatisfied with their job, or some crazy statistic like that. So in terms of helping people, right, it's not just the knowledge. It's not just knowing that you need to have your sleep, that you need to exercise regularly, XYZ, right? We all know that. At some level, we all know these things to be true. It comes back to, getting to the core issue of what's going on and the execution, right? Your schedule might be insane. You might be working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks. You might look up a video that just says, oh, just sleep more, just do X, Y, Z, and it might not physically work with your schedule. So the execution takes a lot more than just 5 minutes of watching some free content. And that's where the coaching really steps in. That's where the transformation really comes in working with someone and having that relationship and having the accountability to actually implement the things that'll make the change consistent.
No, I have to agree. Having a coach, being there, not just holding your hands, but encouraging you to do the steps necessary is so important. And with the state of the world right now, it's not surprising burnout is on the rise, given everything going on. with touching all that, and because you've helped so many people, I was wondering if you have a memory of helping one of your clients that kind of solidifies why you do what you do, why you focus on helping people with the recover from burnout.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many examples. One that comes to mind really is it was a workshop I was doing for one of the post-secondary institutions. And I remember I was speaking with this woman, and she had recently switched positions. She had moved a few different positions. She thought she was getting, her dream job. And just the situation wasn't what she expected. She was, she had been in the industry some 20 years. She was successful. She was respected by her peers. And yet here she was 50 something years old, and she was burnt out. She was really frustrated and kind of angry about where she had ended up. And, within the workshop series I was running for them, and within the coaching pods we were having for them, she's really able to find her peace and find her kind of healing within the moment. She ended up switching positions again within the same kind of company and environment, but something that suited her a bit better. And more importantly, she just really had that contentment and kind of resolving that loop and that cycle of negative emotions that were really just driving her to overwork, to feel burnt out, to be stressed, to be, to some extent, she had her trust broken by some of the leadership and decisions that had been made. So it was really powerful for me as a coach to see someone show up, very heavy, very low energy, very kind of dreading going into work every day, to establishing more focus and clarity for herself, having better boundaries, and putting herself into a position where she was able to continue and, really push forward her career. Despite having already kind of proven herself, she was able to get that extra kick to reignite her passion for what she was doing.
I like that. And it's such a great story when someone goes from hating their job to enjoying it and loving what they do, because it's very important. If you don't love what you're spending 8 hours of your day doing, your life will be miserable. And I can attest to that from what I was doing. I would love to know the book you recommended, because I always like reading. It's the fastest way for me personally to absorb knowledge. You went with The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Is there a specific reason you think entrepreneurs should read this book when they're starting their journey or they're on their journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of think of it as a prerequisite, if I do say so, because it deals with the self-sabotage, if I was to kind of summarize it. And that self-sabotage can look like a number of different things. Sometimes it's imposter syndrome. Sometimes it's procrastination. And the book does a really good job at kind of describing, through a series of different stories of what people have gone through, the ways we hold ourselves back. There's the fear of failure that we're all familiar with. And there's that fear of success. There's the fear of not being able to keep up with our dream and keep up with the growing demand that scale as we scale. So the book does a really good job at identifying, some of the key warning signs to look out for, that you're actually kind of cutting your own tires, slashing your own tires. And it also goes over some of the things we can start doing in order to build that relationship for ourselves, so we're not holding ourselves back. And so we take the big leap, even though it might be terrifying, and it might be something our minds and our bodies and our emotions are kind of trying to hold us back.
I like that. And yeah, I think personally for me, I think it's the fear of success, not the fear of failure, because I failed multiple times. And I think that's something entrepreneurs get used to. The failures, it's not a failure, it's a lesson here. But for me, it's the success, the fear of success, to keep up with that repeatedly. I can do the failures. The failures are easy. They're still, I failed, I can move on. The success is okay, now I have to you feel pressure to re-up or double up, and I'm looking forward to having that issue.
Yeah, exactly. It's that pressure to do better, to do it consistently. What happens if my skills don't meet that success or expectations that I set out for everyone? Yeah, there's a lot within that.
have you dealt with people having that fear, particularly when they have that burnout? Because I feel that is something that can lead to burnout as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think a lot of what I see really stems from not knowing what they're capable of, or not having the belief that they could get there. They're almost like afraid to have that hope, or afraid that what they're striving for isn't quite achievable. And they either never take action, or they kind of do everything all at once, which inadvertently is just distracting themselves from actually getting their success and having simple, repeatable, reliable system that'll get them the results they're looking for.
Oh my God. Where do you see us where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like I snap my fingers. We're back on the show. I asked you, Andrew, how has it been? It was 5 years ago you were on the Invest in Yourself podcast. Now we're 5 years later. What's going on? What's happened in your life so far?
Yeah. I would love to take my business in a sense where it's self-sustaining. I have that system built out where the business is generating revenue without my physical presence being there. I'm building those connections, diversifying my business. I have a couple ideas of how I want to add on and layer onto my current offering that brings people through the similar, this kind of timeline that I'm building now, as well as a couple other directions I have in mind. 5 years, I would also love to, on a personal level, I want to have a winter home. Being up here in Montreal, I don't want to be stuck in winter every year. Feel that, a nice getaway winter abode. And really, having built that community and that group of just people who are striving for more and who are pushing the boundaries further. I say this to pretty much all my students who come on. One of the things I'm most grateful for in what I'm doing is I always seem to attract people who want more from them for themselves, but also for their own community. I work with a lot of people who have a focus in diversity, inclusion, equality, people who are really striving to make the world more inclusive and be leaders for other people like them, and building the structures, the rules, the regulations that allow a better platform for everyone. So, I really I'm excited to continue building the community of these people so they can continue elevating their performance and having that impact on a global scale.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you come back in 5 years, and even probably sooner. I've already achieved that and crushing it, and I'm so looking forward to that, Andrew, because you're bringing in change positive that we need in this world. So I want to thank you for that. We're going to jump to the spark question of the show. By Seek Discomfort, an amazing group that you guys should check out. What's a goal you accomplished recently?
Goal I accomplished recently. I would say, let's see, a goal I accomplished recently. There's a few. One, it's not quite business related, but I recently took a trip to Barcelona. Ooh. And, it's something that was just on my list for a while. And it seemed like the stars just kind of aligned because everything just kind of opened up for this specific weekend, few days. So I flew to Barcelona. I got to experience the new culture, eat some new food, went to see some really cool ancient monuments and whatnot. And it was just cool because I haven't been to Europe in probably about 10 years at this point. And it was cool to just allow myself that time to explore and to go into a different culture and break things up. So that was something cool recently that I did. That's been on my bucket list for quite some time now.
That's awesome. You have to celebrate those goals. Those little goals are so important in life, because if you don't take those mini celebrational goals, why work so hard to hit the goals that we have? Andrew, I'm going to jump off screen here. I'm going to let you take the last little bit. Let my audience know where they can connect with you, how they can work with you if they're feeling burned out or if they're wants to avoid having a burnout. So the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil. So you can find me in a few places. You can see me on Instagram at andrewo'malley.co. So that's ANDREW.CO. My website conveniently is the same thing. So if you type that into your browser, you'll find me. You can book a call if you're interested in learning a little bit more about what I do and also share a bit about where you're at. You can also find me on TikTok. I have a little launch party coming up next month, so I'd love to see you there. My handle is @performance coaching. So come check me out, send me a little message. I also have a link to my burnout bootcamp. I have a series lined up all summer long. So if you check out my TikTok or my other social media platforms, there's going to be a link for you to sign up. Come join the group, see a little bit about what I have to share. And it's really your time to explore burnout, explore how it manifests for you, and steps you can start taking right now in order to set yourself up for success and happiness.
Andrew, I want to thank you again for coming on the show. It was a pleasure talking with you, and I am so excited to see where you go from here.
Thanks, Phil. I appreciate it. Thanks for being a good host. And look forward to coming back.
I'm looking forward to having you on. It's going to be a great conversation, and hopefully we can meet in person one day to have an in-person interview. But to my audience, of course, the links will be in the show notes down below to connect with Andrew, his boot camp, so that you can avoid burnout or deal with the burnout in your life. I want to thank you all for listening, and remember to always invest in yourself. Hey, digital entrepreneurs, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Now, if you're looking to take your podcast to the next level, like most of these entrepreneurs have taken their business to the next level, to scale it, if you will, make sure you check out my brand new newsletter. Links are down below. It is called the Monetization Mogul Syndicate newsletter, or it could be Phil Better Stories of Monetization Moguls, or Making Moguls is what I do. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. But I want to thank you very much for listening. And as always, remember to invest in yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.